Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals of IEM Katowice 2022. I am TitanOnFire, and I am so excited that I'm going to be able to bring you this best of 7. It's two very best players that Europe has ever produced, duking it out now, starting on Pride of Alteris, the series that I think is very much anticipated. In the top left-hand corner, it's Serral, and in the bottom right, from Clash, the Italian stallion himself didn't have an easy road to this finals. Much harder than that of his opponent in terms of match score, at the very least. Oh, there we go. It's Reynor. The zoom-ins, man, they're a bit quick sometimes. But we are here. We are into the grand finals. And as I kind of said, Reynor and Serral both had very difficult tasks. There was, paths to this finals. There was no easy match. There was no easy road here. Of course, Serral making his way through Bunny, through Maru. Had an absolutely insane performance. Really, really awesome to see out of him. And as for Reynor, did have to manage to find his way past Hero Marine in the semifinals, which was an incredibly hard matchup. It was really great to see how he did there. And of course, I do believe he did play Solar, if I'm not wrong. Serral did end up playing Rogue in the semifinals, which was fairly one-sided, surprisingly. But both these players did not have easy paths. Reynor's series were a bit closer. They did end up going 3-2, getting a bit closer than he probably would have liked, as we were on Pride of Alteris for game number 1, and we are going to see the drone transfer come out. Reynor did go for the early gold base. This actually is not going to be scouted until Serral comes up and scouts the natural base location with that Overlord. So there's not a lot that Serral is going to be able to do to punish this early gold base. And as I said, Serral, I mean, really showing dominance. As actually there's the second Overlord there, very nicely scouting out the creeps. So Serral will know a bit sooner than he would have otherwise. But Serral had I would say had a hard pass. I mean, had to get through Rogue, you know, one of Korea's best Zergs, if not the best Zerg from Korea. You had to get through Maru, who a lot of people thought was going to be the favorite to win the tournament. And, you know, sure, it was a situation where maybe Maru wasn't playing the best, but Serral was just utterly dominant. And I think you can't say that even had any of these players been playing better, anything like that Serral would not have gone to these finals. The same can be said for Reynor. You know, he played all of his opponents when they were at their max, and he got here. So this grand finals is absolutely sure to be stellar in every single way possible, and I'm just so very excited for it, as we do have the quick third coming out from Serral. So no early aggression from either of these players just yet, as the Ling micro actually going quite in favor of Serral. Gets both of those Lings into the orange hit points before backing on off. Baneling that's coming up for both players, of course, and this is just your standard, pretty safe macro opening from both players. They scouted out, they saw, hey, there's going to be no huge Ling flood. There is not going to be an early Roach Warren or any attack like that just yet, so I'm not worried about this game ending in around 4 or 5 minutes. So they ended up going up to around 23 workers or so, getting your third base, droning up to 28, 30, and now you're starting to add on the Lings and the Banelings just to try and get that map control and map presence. Of course, Reynor should have a little bit of a tempo advantage with the gold base. As you can see down on the bottom bar, he's mining about 400 to 300 more minerals per second or per minute than his opponent. Of course, is quite the difference. Or sorry, minerals per second, I believe, will be the difference. No, it's not minerals. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, 300 minerals per minute, whatever. You know, that's... Oh, man. What a great way to start off this cast. But we do have the Roach Warrens and the +1 range attack. So this is going to be Roach Ravager play on Pride of Alteris. It is, again, a large map. Usually you will see a more Ling Bane play when you're starting to look at the smaller maps. When you're looking at something like Berlingrad is where you're definitely going to expect to see a lot of Ling Bane plays. That's actually a very nice catch there. Serral, just with that Ling harass, does manage to get a Baneling hit off. So Reynor losing that 75 minerals and 25 gas this early on is a bit annoying. You really don't want to invest those Banelings that early. As, ooh, Serral has to be careful. Manages to detonate another Baneling. with just a single Zergling, as now 2 Banelings gonna roll on in. Reynor, is he paying attention? Oh, just pulls the drones away in time, maybe. Still gonna lose 5. And Serral so far, a great early game. 12 drones in total have fallen to this harassment. Absolutely incredible play from him. And Serral just being all over the place. And that was really how Serral managed to win his series against Rogue. It was aggression, it was decision making, and just the micro coming out from Serral was absolutely exquisite. As we do have roaches coming out onto the map, and Serral is going to be the first one moving out. Both these players sitting in even army supplies, so it's a bit dangerous to be across the map as the Red Zerg. You have that defender's advantage in the morph times, as these Banelings actually going to get really good connections, clear up most of the lings that are available for Serral, as the first roaches are going to come across. Reynor getting his own out just in time, and Reynor actually going up to a much higher army count, 44 more roaches coming out. Serral, if he overstays here, this could be very, very dangerous. You really don't want to stay any longer than you have to. And it's only 5 roaches right now, the difference in this army size, but that is a considerable amount. Serral will be catching up, though, has a round of 13 roaches on the way. Both players sitting at decent worker counts. Actually, Serral, about 9 ahead, is going to be able to even out the gold-based income difference fairly decently. With having 9 more workers, you know, even though you're both on 3 bases, you're actually managing to mine almost equal to Reynor, which is a great position to be in as Serral, when you're also looking at the fact that his +2 has started up earlier. His glial reconstitution has started up earlier. Reynor does not actually have the gas to start up these upgrades, and that can be a massive difference maker in this game, especially if Serral is looking for that +2 timing attack, which can be so deadly, as the roaches are going to split here. Reynor trying to go for a bit of attack. There's some decent splash damage from the Banelings, but it's not enough to allow Reynor to push up that ramp. The Zergling counterattack is getting prepared, and look at this creep train that is making its way through the middle of the map. Reynor, he wants to try and get aggressive, but again, these upgrades, if they're allowed to come through, can be absolutely massive. And I don't think there's much that Reynor really has to stop it, as Serral just finds these lings into the natural, as being so annoying. Only gets the 1 ling so far. He's going to be looking for a bit more damage there in the main. And just get a second drone. That should be all he's able to pick off, but has split Reynor's attention, has stopped any pressure from coming out from the young Italian player. And now you have glial reconstitution finishing up. You have the roach speed. You know, Serral's army is just going to be so much more microable than that of Reynor's, and that is where Serral really shines, is in these defensive positions, when he's able to just set up an engagement. And once this +2 finishes, I mean, this army is going to be so much stronger for Serral. I mean, sure, Reynor has more, but more doesn't really, you know, I mean, having 5, 6 more roaches doesn't really mean that much when you're looking at +2 on these roaches for Serral, as Serral cancels that. Wait, what? Was that a... Okay, it was a cancel. Didn't lose the base, but canceled his gold base. Serral is actually just going to be going for aggression. He decides he doesn't want to try and get that base. So does rebuild it now, but I'm not sure what the deal was there. Oh no, Serral have his army get split off. Reynor manages to get a good volley off. It's a lot of roaches killed there. I mean, Reynor just distracts him with a small group of lings, and the +2 is done now for Serral. Reynor is going to have a +1/+1 of his own, will have the glial reconstitution finally finishing up for his own roaches. This 4th base is going to be the point of contention, though. If Serral is able to get this up, then that Reynor just cannot allow it to happen. As you're seeing now, the slow roaches trying to split against Biles. That is definitely not a pretty thing, but there are so many roaches here for Reynor. Serral's gonna have to bring in his whole army, but he's gonna find a pseudo surround, bringing a few roaches from the back to try and get rid of these queens. Burrow and Tunneling Claws is done for Serral, but it doesn't look like he needs it. Pulls away the back line of roaches. His supply staying high as Reynor's is going to drop, and the +2 absolutely ripping through Reynor's army, as Serral should be able to crush through this. And Reynor's gonna have to back up. That 4th base will go up, and that means that Serral can continue to drone up, can continue to push his tempo advantage. And Serral, even behind all this, now slipping Tunneling Claw roaches through into the natural. There's already an Overseer here, though. Reynor was ready for it. A great catch there. Reynor does, of course, have a bit of supply left over as he lost most of his army. If you're just looking at these traits, oof, that is rough. Rough. Almost 3k more minerals lost for Reynor. As Serral split the army, he's going to look to try and hit 2 locations at once, and he should be able to win on both sides. Reynor has to bring over more to deal with the right flank, but the left side is going to also go down because of this. And Serral is just winning on absolutely every part of this map, and that's GG. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're into game number 2, and it's Berlingrad. And ooh, baby, I am excited for this game, as in the top left-hand corner. Sorry. He is the one that won that last game. Just superb macro. It's what you expect. He has been looking flawless this entire tournament. And that is a 12 pool. It's Serral. And in the bottom right, of course, from Clash, is now going to be responsible for defending the most aggressive possible opening that you can go as a Zerg. One of the most charismatic players that there is. It is Reynor. And oh boy, Serral. I mean, you gotta love the confidence from the Finnish Phenom. He knows that he's playing well. He wants to get aggressive. He wants to mess up this series and to really try and push the tempo that he gets off of that amazing Game 1 victory. And we'll see if he's able to do so. The 12 pool is going to be finishing up. There is no gas with this, mind you. But that is 6 lings already coming out. Of course, the gas means this isn't going to be with speed. This isn't going to be a hyper all-in. But if he's able to get damage done with this, if he's able to get the cancel, the kill on the hatchery, that's even more lings coming out. This is so many. We're going to be seeing 8 in total. 4 more added on. Serral's bringing the drones. He is going all in. Never mind. This is going to be a spine crawler rush behind it as well. Reynor, can you hold? I mean, the spawning pool isn't even done yet. This map is so small. Reynor is going to bring over some drones to help defend the ramp, but I don't think that's going to be enough. You do not have enough time for this as Reynor. Serral's not even going to pay attention to the natural. He's going to go straight up into the main as we're already seeing the drone drills come through. There's just more drones available here for Serral. He's already going to start building the spine crawlers, and they're in range of the spawning pool. And this just might be game. Serral just has to hold this position. He has to wait for the spine crawlers to come up. He knows that. He's just going to threaten. He's going to stop the mining so that Reynor can't build Zerglings. And I mean, Serral, if these spine crawlers get up, that's good. That should be game. He has lings across the map. He has his workers. The spines are halfway done. Now Zerglings are going to come out for Reynor, though. Reynor going to try and stop this. Everything has been pulled, but the micro already coming through. Lings pulled back on the left side. Already a spine crawler getting canceled, but so many drones are going down for Reynor. Oh, and I think Serral's done it. The supply drops. The spine crawler gets up, and the lings are still alive. Serral gonna absolutely crush through this game, too. Reynor needs to retreat to the bottom of the ramp. But that spawning pool is forfeit. No, Serral. He's going down the ramp? What? Oh, I feel like this is a throw. The spine crawler is being brought back. There's not enough lings for Serral to complete this. The surround on the spine, Serral! What are you doing? He tried to end the game there. But I don't know if it worked out. The spine's gonna die. More lings are on the way. Serral, if he just brings back his workers, maybe can try and do this. The worker counts, it's 4 to 6. Oh, Serral. The spine crawler should die. It's gonna go down. But the worker counts are dead even. Everything has been brought over, though. Serral has more lings coming through. He's been able to build more. He has more available, but the queen is out. And this is just a pure micro battle at this point. Serral gonna look for the surround, has to pull the lings back. Now gonna try to continue to look for the fight. It's lings versus ling. Does Serral have enough? His army supply is still staying solid, but now lings are gonna start to fall. The queen is super low, and it looks like Serral might just be able to get it. 2 lings alive. That is it. Reynor is at 2 supply. His lings are low health. Serral has done it. What an incredible exchange. GG. Whew. I am ready. I am ready. I am excited. I can't wait to see how this is going to go. As, I mean, that last game was just so... oh, that gets your heart pumping. And that's the kind of ZVZ that we wanted from this series. Both these players just playing at such a high level this whole tournament. And now, I think Serral and Reynor, the 2 players that if you just look at the results of IEM Katowice, have had the best form, have looked the best. You know, we don't care about past results. We're not going to look at, you know, everyone over the course of, you know, over the course of the year. We're just looking at this tournament, and it is Reynor and Serral who have looked the best, and Serral, just being absolutely fantastic. And, well, Reynor, this is the time where you need to kind of have that clutch factor. You need to bring it back, is what needs to happen. And we'll see if he's able to do that. I mean, Reynor, he played a series against Dark in the group stages and managed to win that 2-1. It was an incredible series. Serral had his ZVZ against Rogue. I believe Reynor actually did Reynor play against Solar too? I am not quite sure. No, Solar fell to Hero Marine. But both these players so good at this matchup, and I have no doubt in my mind that Reynor is going to be able to try and find a comeback into this series. Is going to be able to find a game to get his momentum back, as we are going to be seeing the third hatchery taken here by both players. So very similar to game one, we are going to see a bit more passive opening. No 12 pools, no 14-14s with pool gas is just your standard opening. The Zergling's going to be just kind of hanging out here. They look at each other, they say hi, how's it going, as Serral has opted for the gold base. Does Baneling Nest go down? We'll see. I mean, the gold base as the third is much safer from Serral. We saw Reynor take it as his natural, and that's a situation where if Serral had gone for an aggressive build in game one, could have just ended it there. Of course, still did manage to extend that into a victory with just some really smart movement and hitting the timings that he had, as well as his harassment being absolutely fantastic. And so taking it as a third base on Blackburn, it is a bit safer. You're going to have more units out to defend it, but Reynor, that is 14 lings on the way. That is a bit more than you usually go. 10 lings on the way from Serral. Both these players going to try and get a little bit aggressive here out on the map. Make sure they have enough units to contest these base locations. And Serral, looking for the scout, immediately gets denied. Is not going to see the link count, though, of Reynor. Oh, as I love this position here. 2 banelings hidden, and, well, Serral is going to be able to scout out the fact that there are more lings coming across the map, as that's immediately an Evo Chamber and a Roach Warren to try and complete the wall off, as Zergling just trying to pick away at these Banes. Now the micro battle is going to begin, as, oh, that's a good connection there for Serral. 1 Baneling for 2, has 3 more that are ready. This base, Rainer's trying to knock it down, but these 2 Banelings so deadly. A great connection on the first. Second is also good, and the third now coming over. Oh, Serral almost gets it, but he should be able to hold this, as Reynor just barely manages to dodge the last 2 Banelings. Gets another drone. That does look like it's gonna be about it. Not what Reynor wanted. He wanted to try and get more aggressive. He wanted to try and find damage there, and it did not work out. Serral able to hold him back, sitting now with a larger army with a Roach Warren on the way. And Serral might just try and swing this across the map, because that's roaches that are being produced. You have Carapace on the way for Reynor. Is he ready though? The Overlord is going to see it. Immediately is going to start on his own Roach Warren, but it is so late in comparison. And that is a gold base economy that is bolstering this from Serral. Of course, he is down 9 workers, which is meaning that Reynor is mining more, as well as the gas mining. 2 Banelings going to come on in. Serral, manages to limit the damage, but now his army is across the map. Still a massive army supply lead for Serral, 42-13. You might have 48 workers, Reynor, but you don't need 48 workers right now. You need defenses, and he did not see the roaches. They are just now coming across the map. The third base is going to be evacuated. Spine crawlers are on the way, and Reynor is going to try and make this hold work, but he might just lose his third base for it, as this counterattack, though, is going to find some incredible damage. 2 drones already go down. The Queen is going to fall. Units have to be brought back, and that is absolutely massive. Reynor just trying to delay as long as possible, but the roaches are making their way up. Banelings trying to get connections, but a single roach here blocking and trying to make sure that they can't. Now the Banelings are going to come up. They're going to just try and find connections. Oh, Reynor's Banelings don't do well. Still, though, he has more supply. His army count is getting there. The Banelings trying to roll through, but these Queens body blocking so well. Now, the Spine's not going to be the target. Instead, it's the roaches, but I think Reynor is held. Loses 5 workers, but that is not enough. Serral needs so much more damage with this. Now the Lings are being brought over, but there is even more units coming out from Reynor. He has the defender's advantage. The Spine Crawler is doing so much work. And it feels like Reynor has held this. Serral, he tried to swing the aggression, hasn't worked out. GG! As ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hardwire. And oh boy, this has already been a doozy of a series. 3 games in, 4th one on the precipice. As up 2-1 in the bottom left-hand corner. Tried to get aggressive again. It didn't work out. The timing was just not quite there. The defense was rock solid from his opponent. From NC Sports, it's Serral. And in the top right, from Clash, the beautiful hold. Getting himself a win on the board. Gonna look for a second here. It, of course, is the Italian Stallion himself. This music is not as hype as I'd like. It's Reynor! Honestly, I should do the intros myself. I should really stop relying on the ESL Observer until the game actually starts. As, of course, these are all done from replays. Thank you, everybody who is watching on the YouTubes. Of course, I think I said this at the start of the series, but I am TitanOnFire. This is the Alpha X YouTube channel where we do post a bunch of series like this all the time. And I hope that you are enjoying. For those of you that either can't catch it live or want to see a different take on them than you got in the live coverage. But we're on to Hardwire. And Hardwire is a map that's, I would say, most similar in ZVZ, at least, as far as, I would say, to a map like, at least in terms of build orders that you can go, I would say it's very similar to Berlingrad. Where in Berlingrad, of course, you can go for these really aggressive ling timings. Of course, the rush distance is a bit faster even on that map. It's a bit slower here, just because you have a bit more curves and things that you're going to have to make your way through, but altogether still is not that long. You can go natural to natural pretty directly, just with a slight detour. So, we will see. Neither of these players are opening up aggressive, though. But that, of course, can change. You know, it's ZVZ. It is one of the most volatile matchups in the game. I would say even more so than TVT. Because with TVT, of course, you know, you can get caught out of position. Your whole army can die, but you're at least able to rebuild sometimes. And at the pro level, players are very good about not letting one engagement decide the whole game. And PvP, that's, you know, of course, that is a matchup that it's all about the early game and what you do. In Zerg versus Zerg, every single choice that you make with when you push out, when you get your buildings, when you tech up, when you drone versus when you get units does end up mattering. As we are going to be seeing a bit of harassment go down from both of these players. Reynor and Serral both just trying to get a bit of HP down on these hatcheries. Of course, it's always worthwhile to try and find that damage. And you see pro players do this because when you're getting later into the game, your Zergling run-bys, when you start to get those upgrades in, can be super effective at just knocking down a hatchery if your opponent doesn't respond. Of course, you're always going to look for drone kills, but any little HP damage, especially if you decide, hey, listen, I'm going to pull the trigger and I'm going to be aggressive early on. And we're going to see Serral do a little bit of that. 12 lings are on the way, so he's going to try and at least get a bit of pressure across the map. And so just that little bit of damage, hey, it's going to help out. Reynor will see this, though. Has the Overlord on the high ground. Not going to be worried altogether too much about it. As the first lings make their way across, banelings are out already for Reynor, so Serral will have to be careful. 4 banelings in total. Nice hit on the first one, already getting 3 lings down. Serral sacrifices another 2 to the second. Ooh, that baneling does get some damage done, but it's not enough. Serral tries to find a way in with these lings. He wants to go and just slide them on in to get all of those low health drones, but it's not quite going to work out, as Reynor does have enough units now to be able to defend. And really not too much going to be interrupted for Reynor, as 420 hits and both Roach Dwarves go down exactly on time with the +1 missile attack starting. And oh boy, these two are just so good. They are so good. These timings are so crisp. Absolutely love it, as the early game is going to go mostly neutralized. Of course, Reynor is going to have a slight advantage out of this, just being how it is when Serral's the one that decides, hey, listen, I want to be aggressive. Reynor commits less Zerglings to the defense. Excuse me. commits less Zerglings to the defense, and then ends up going for, and ends up managing to defend with taking, I mean, minimal casualties, really. And so fairly worthwhile in total. I don't know. Oh yeah, Serral has lost more. Apologies for that, Jan. As sometimes I get so excited about casting, I just forget to take a breath. That's sometimes how it works. Happens all the time, but we are going to see once again Serral trying to get at least some presence back onto this map. Scouting out with a few lings pushing across the map. Oh, that is a big Baneling hit. And that just hurt. That hurts a little bit here for Serral. He's already down in workers, but now he's going to be down in army. As that Baneling hit really does deny him quite a bit of potential with this attack. It's poking away at that Baneling, doesn't get much done. Serral is actually even bringing roaches over. Serral is going to just continue this aggression. But it feels like right now, Reynor is ready. Reynor has +1 roaches on the way. The Baneling's rolling on in. Not going to be able to find a decent connection. Are just going to have to settle for, I mean, maybe even 2 workers. And yeah, Serral just settles for the 2. He's going to be happy with that. Has managed to actually find himself a worker lead behind all of this. As Glio Reconstitution on the way for both the players. Serral working on his +2 missile or ranged weapon attacks. And look at that. That is a Spire on the way for Reynor. We're going to see some Mutalisk play, which of course is always a pleasure to see Reynor's Mutalisk play. I would say it is only, it's only on par or rivaled by that of Serral's Mutalisk control, and my oh my, that is a Spire on the way for Serral as well. Of course, it is a bit later than Reynor's, so we should actually probably see Corruptors from Serral. Usually when you see Spire versus Spire, the player who gets Mutalisks out first will have the tempo advantage, and when you have more Mutalisks, you just kind of straight up win the fight. That's how it works, and so the player that goes them second will actually just make Corruptors. Corruptors are a lot tankier, the single target damage is much higher, their base armor mitigates the Mutalisk damage, and so if you end up going into Corruptors, you can actually find a pretty decent counter to the Mutalisks of your opponents. So as Serral moves in here with the Overseer, should be able to at least scout out the Spire and the Mutalisks as they're popping out, which will give him a clue into what he needs to build. Oh no, Serral actually doesn't scout out the Spire. He pulls the Overseer away. Doesn't have Pneumaticized Carapace, so doesn't have that Overlord speed. Therefore is not really able to move fast enough, but does scout out the Mutalisk there with the Zerglings. A great pull away. Manages to grab a Baneling and is now just going to find his way into the main. Sees no extra tech, so these Lings will be sacrificed, but the scouting information is enough on its own as 7 Corruptors are on the way. Spore Crawler is being built, and this is absolutely the response you should have if you know that your opponent has Mutalisks out first. Now, Reynor, what is he going to be able to do? Well, he has a lot of money available right now. 4th base is already up and established, and it's going to just seem like, for now, to be Ling Muta. It's already getting a few drone kills, but the Corruptors are out on the map. And ideally right now you start to look for Overlord kills. There we go. Finds one. Mutalisk does go down for it, though already not the best trade. Reynor's actually going to turn on this, and you see, oh, the Corruptors do just fall very quickly when you have a flock of Mutas, but another one is going to go down. So far, Serral managing to trade at least somewhat decently, but still on the losing end of it, as the +2 ranged weapons is going to finish up for Reynor. Has not started +1 for these Mutas, so is not going to be looking for the air upgrades just yet. Is taking a 5th base at the same time. Going to clear up all the Overlords that they can, as the Mutalisk flock already at 17. 8 Corruptors is going to make its way up to 15 of their own. And once you get to about even numbers of Corruptors, that's when the Mutalisks stop being able to really fight as directly. As Reynor's still trying to poke around, the Corruptors just not really giving you any space, as the Mutalisks do manage to group up, already just looking for the target fire onto the Corruptors, but Serral doing the same, finds so much damage back. And 8 Mutalisks go down for 3 Corruptors, but now look at this, Reynor double pronged pressure, triple pronged pressure, taking the fight in the air. Also a Ling run by into the 3rd, Roaches at the 4th. He's gonna be able to find 8 drones worth of damage. And just gets on out. 26 Lings on the way. Finally, Flyer attacks level 1 is going to be in production. And this 5th going up for Reynor will just give him, again, just another little bit of lead. I mean, Reynor's tempo in this game, Serral has not been able to slow it down. Sure, their supplies are even, but look at the bank for Reynor. Already so many minerals. Even if he commits in with a bunch of Zerglings, we'll just be able to remax on them. As kills onto the Ravagers, now actually going to target down lone Corruptors and gets on away. The Corruptors are so quick at chasing this down. Oh, look at this Reynor. Oh, he sees the whole army out. Reynor's going to go for a counterattack. This could be massive. The Mutalisks are just taking a fight. And I think he might just have enough. There's not a lot of Corruptors, 18 of them available. As we're just looking at the numbers fall, the Mutalisks are doing work, but the Corruptors just so valuable against these units. It feels like there's enough, though, for Reynor. He's assessed this situation properly. His already drones are going down all across the map. The main base has been evacuated as the Corruptors are going to start to win this fight now. Reynor, I think, has overstayed his welcome. And his supply drops down. Only 5 drones go down. And overall, the trade's starting to equal out. 20 Corruptors have gone down. 30 Mutalisks. 17 drones for Serral, who's sitting at 68 versus 81. But you know what that means? Serral has a larger army right now. Serral has more to work with. And look at this. The Corruptors can now start to one-shot the high health Mutalisks. Oh, the micro from Serral. So good. Only ends up losing a single Corruptor as the Roaches are now being brought on in. There is static defense available, but there is not a lot as the Corruptors are trying to take the fight, but there's so many Mutalisks now. I don't think that Serral can do this, and look at that! Link counterattacks all across the map. Serral has to bring his army back, but he's just losing workers absolutely everywhere, and the Corruptors are falling. 5 left, 17 Mutalisks. Reynor has found the damage. 8 drones have fallen across the map. Even more to follow. And Serral was not able to kill his opponent with that move. And he has taken an immense amount of damage. I think Reynor, from this position, should just be able to swing this into a victory. As so many Mutalisks coming out. 11. There's half as many Corruptors, and that is not a good sign, especially when these are +1 Mutalisks. As Reynor is going to fly, he's going to take the fight. He knows he has the advantage. This Corruptor just cannot stand up to it. There aren't enough. The armor is not going to save them as Zerglings stream across the map. And that should be game. Serral trying his hardest to stop them from finding their way into the natural, but it does not work. Reynor once again taking the fight, and that's it. GG, we're tied up. And this is, I mean, you could not write a script better than what has already happened in this series, and we're only at game 5. There's still a chance that one player wins the next 2 games, and we go home in 6. But it has been back and forth games. And this is, again, I keep saying it, but this is what everyone really wanted, was this ZVZ to be this good. I mean, we saw how one-sided some of the other series were that we were hyping up, that we were excited about. You know, Serral versus Rogue, 3-1. Serral versus Maru, 3-1. Serral ended up destroying, you know, those Korean players that we expected to have good matchups. And on the other side, we actually had closer ones than we expected, where we, you know, closer ones where I didn't expect it. Solar versus Hero Marine, an incredible matchup. Joe versus Hero Marine. Reynor versus Hero Marine. You know, so far, this entire tournament has been absolutely incredible, and this is quite the way to close it off, and we're not even all the way through it. There's still, at max, 3 more games left in this series, and I would not be surprised if it ends up going the distance. But we're on to Glittering Ashes, which is a large map, so let's talk a little bit about it. You're not going to see any 12 pools. You're not going to see 14 14s, 14 pool, 14 gas. Why? Well, because it's just, the rush distance is pretty large. It's not the longest out of any map. The rush distance down the center is pretty actually manageable, considering, but the actual map itself, with the ramps, with the size of it, means that even if you go for those builds, by the time they hit, your opponent will have enough defenses out that they're no longer viable. And that ends up being a big part in how players decide to approach these series is, all right, what builds are actually viable to do? And so on a map like Berlingrad, of course, the 12 pool is a completely viable opening, as Serral is just trying to save his Overlord, should be able to, but loses a link for it. He will take that, though. 50 supplies versus 100, and the supply block averted. But on a map like Berlingrad, you can go for that 12 pool. The rush distance is small enough. The mineral patches that you can mine through, of course, make it even easier. And so that's a map that you can be aggressive on. A map like Blackburn, you can be aggressive on because of the rush distance, because of how small and compact it is, especially. Glittering Ashes, those builds are mostly phased out of the early game just because of the size. These players are good enough that they're not going to scout, aggression. They're going to see it if it's coming across the map, and they know how to respond. So you're not going to see those builds. You're just going to see a pretty standard opening, a pretty standard start to these games, and not really much more. As we do have the +1 ranged weapons, of course, start up for both players, as they will be getting into roaches as the choice of units. The roach, just such a good early game unit. We don't give the roach enough credit. In ZVZ, everyone's like, oh, so many roaches. Everyone builds roaches. Roach versus roaches and fun. And then, when you see it in TV, in TVZ, sometimes it looks absolutely dominating, and then other times it gets absolutely crushed, and everyone's like, roaches. But roaches are a very fun unit because of the micro-ability, because of the versatility. Tunneling claws and burrow, of course, can lead to a lot of harassment and micro-options. The actual positioning game that you have to play with them is always so interesting, as, interestingly enough, Reynor's Roach Warren is very far behind that of his opponents, and I do not really see a reason why. I'm trying to, but I don't. The worker count, I suppose, Reynor did push out a few more workers a bit faster than Serral did. It did go up to 54 when his opponent was still at 48. But even with that, Serral got his done quicker. He's not going to use it for anything, and is in fact actually just going to go straight on into Aspire. So we will see Mutalisk play from Serral this game, which I am excited about. I love watching Serral's Mutalisk control. It is one of the most cathartic experiences in StarCraft 2 is watching Serral control Mutalisks, because there's almost never a moment where those mutas stop moving. They are constantly active, constantly doing something, and it is just absolutely fantastic to see, as immediately it is going to be the infestation pit for Reynor. Is not going for the Spire. Has the Roach Warren done and is just going straight into the infestation pit. That might be for an early hive. It could also be for infestors to help deal with Mutalisks. But Reynor does not really have a lot of scouting information so far. This Overseer gonna be able to not see too much along the outside of this base. Is going to have to retreat on away. And honestly, once it comes back in, should be able to be eliminated by those queens. Zergling tries to make its way in. Ooh, Sneaky Ling manages to find its way into the natural. Can't get much further up, which is of course unfortunate because that infestation pit is in the main. But +1/+1 on the way for Reynor. It looks like it is just going to be Ling-based play. He's not actually going to be going into roaches. He canceled the +1 ranged weapons. Is just going for Zerglings. And on the same side, Serral went for the Spire. Ended up finishing it, but has not gone into Mutalisk just yet. Should be starting up his Mutas very, very shortly, as he's sitting at a round of 1.4k of gas bank. As these Banelings are very nicely denied. Serral's units are cleared up to their side. I'm sorry, Corruptors from Serral? Does he think that Reynor is going Mutalisks? I mean, I think that right now Serral utterly believes that Reynor is going Mutalisk, because there is no other reason why you would get out Corruptors right now. Of course, he scouted out that there was a lot of gas being taken for his opponent, so maybe assumes that, but now the fourth base is under fire. These Zerglings gonna try and be able to get the kill, and they should just be able to find it. As the fourth goes down, but Corruptors are out for Serral. And Reynor is going Mutalisks, or he's going Hydralisks and a Lurker Den. A double Lurker Den. Oh. I mean, this is, of course, great for Reynor right now, as these Corruptors are going to come out. They're going to clear out Overlords, and Reynor is going to be like, oh, you have Corruptors. It feels like right now Serral has a really large misread on what his opponent is doing. All the information pointed towards mutas. There are no mutas on the map. And now these Corruptors, their value is limited, and that was a lot of resources that Serral invested into them. You know, that's nearly 1,800 minerals, sitting around, I believe, 1,300 minerals, 900 gas in those Corruptors, and the harassment that they're going to be able to find is, of course, with their caustic spray, as the roaches of Serral are going to be able to deny the fourth base of Reynor. Didn't have any units in position to help it. It is just pure Hydra Ling that is on the map right now. But the fourth is going to be denied once again of Serral, as Serral's actually just going in. Never mind, Serral's not giving Reynor the time. Sure, he might have Corruptors, but those Corruptors just caustic sprayed down to third base. Those Corruptors have some serious balls, and these Hydras have not been able to clean them up. Now the roaches are getting so much value. Serral's brought across the Queens. He says, hey, why not? Let's just walk everything across, but I don't think this is what you want to do. The Queens are going to go down. The Hydra DPS is just too high. But still, Serral absolutely wins that fight. I mean, Lurkers are on the way. But Reynor didn't get any damage traded back. He lost 2 hatcheries. And somehow these Corruptors are finding more value than I think Mutalisks ever would have against Hydras, as the Lurker dens are gonna go down. How does this work? Those are, I mean, the upgrade's complete, but that's 2 dead Lurker dens. There's no more Lurkers. Sure, they have their upgrades, but this is it. This is all of Serral's army, and it's gonna be enough to push Serral away as all those spines rip to shred the armor of the roaches. They're gonna try and dive on it, but you don't have any vision, Serral! Loses so many roaches, and now Reynor, he's just gonna push across GG! Whew. Oh my, oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, we are into game number 6, potentially the last game of this series. And in the bottom left, everything looks so good for him. The Corruptors, the Chad Ruptors found damage. They found damage, but it was not enough. Did not have the vision, did not have Overseers out. And he ended up dropping the game in the bottom left-hand corner from Ents. He needs to win 2 in a row to try and claim that world championship that has eluded him for so long. It's Serral. And in the top right, looking to go back-to-back. World champion 2 years in a row. From Clash, it's Reynor. Got it at the end. The zoom in. But man, that last game absolutely had no idea who was gonna win it until the very end. I mean, Reynor went for the quick, the lurker cheese, honestly. 13 lurkers, double upgrades out at, I believe that was 9 minutes. And it's a situation where, of course, the Corruptors found damage, but had Serral Mutalisks, would that have gone differently? Maybe. It would have been a completely different game had Serral gone for the Mutalisks. They could have dealt with the Lurker, the Soul Lurker counterattacks. The Roaches can deal with the Hydras. It could have looked completely different, but losing so many Roaches without any vision was just too much, and Serral had to tap out. And that's got to be a frustrating game as the Finnish player, where you know that it was so close, where you know that your opponent was on the brink, that was their last desperation move, but it worked out. And so now, game number 6, Reynor, you're on the brink of winning it all. Winning the World Championship for the second time. For Serral, he has won everything but. He hasn't gotten a GSL victory, of course, but every other international tournament he has won but an IEM. And now he really has to prove that he is World Championship material. Of course, we've seen it. But now you're down 2 games, or you're down a game. You need to win 2 in a row. You don't have any more lives left. This is it. This is your last life. Can you do it? Is the question, and we'll have to see. Serral will have to prove his mettle here. He'll have to prove his resolve, and of course, Serral has always been a player that is known for having incredibly strong mental game. Even though, of course, he gets down on himself sometimes. He said that in interviews. He gets in his own, he talks things out, he gets down on himself, but he always comes back and plays better. I mean, both these players just so good at keep composure. Reynor the same way. Even when he's down 0-2, knows that he can come back, knows that he just needs to play out his game, and manages to find the equalizer, manages to find 3 games in a row, and is now looking to, after going down 0-2, completely reverse the scoreline. A pseudo-reverse sweep, potentially. Exciting times that we are in. As there's going to be the gas going down for Serral. Is a little bit later than that of his opponents, as Reynor and Serral both getting up a Roach Warren. Looks like Reynor misplaced it, so actually had to remake it. The +1 starting up, and it's been a completely standard opening thus far. No players going for early zergling harassment. No players trying to be aggressive. No one is just going to be around that 4-minute 20-second Roach Warren, if not a little bit earlier. Looked about 4:15 for Serral. And third base is going up unperturbed. 47 workers to 46, 10 army supply to 10. Almost about as even as you can get. It's like uncannily close, as Reynor does end up dropping down just a little bit. 12 workers on the way, has built himself up to 4 gas. And we'll see what he's gonna use that for, because you don't normally just go up to 4 gas geysers that early. There we go, it's the Spire from Reynor. And of course, hoping that we don't see Corruptors, because every time Corruptors have come out, they have lost. So, not the best record there for that unit, despite how, no matter how many Chad moves it might make, no matter how big its chin is, you can't deny the fact that it is 0-2 in games that they have been in. But Reynor is going to be the Spire player in this game. Galil Reconstitution on the way, of course, for him, but Serral has already started his Roach production, already has 6 on the map. And that means that Serral's army right now is quite large. We're looking at 15 Lings, 6 Roaches, and Banelings. Serral looks like he wants to get aggressive. This Overseer has scouted out that the Lings moved across the map, but hasn't seen the Roaches, and that's a Nidus! Oh, baby, Serral. That is very aggressive, as we are going to start to see drones go down. Nice focus fire from the Lings. Pull onto the Banelings, and actually gets all 3! And that is massive, as Reynor does not know about the Nidus Worm. Reynor has no idea that Serral is going to go all in here on 3 bases. 52 workers. And you got 5 Mutalisks on the way. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love this. Serral shows a few Roaches. Just a few. A normal amount of Roaches moving across the map. It says, wow, look at this. But there are more on the way. 8 more Roaches. Look at the army supply. Immediately the Nidus Worm starts up, and guess what? The Roaches are here to defend it. The Queens are going to be brought across. Even potentially drones for the Spore Crawlers. As Serral, he's looking to try and win this game here. He's putting everything on the line for this build, as more Roaches are going to stream out. He's going to try and focus down the Baneling nest. Does manage to snipe it. The Queens are now out to help deal with the Mutalisks. More Roaches coming through. Serral's just going in. He's not waiting for drones. He's not waiting for spores. The Queen's doing absolute work on the Mutalisks, and Serral already finding crucial damage. GG! And the stakes, they are here. They are high. This is what you want from a finals. 7 games, man. 7 games. Absolutely fantastic play from both of these players. Even if you're not a fan of ZVZ, even if you're not a fan of Serral or Reynor. You know, maybe you're a Rogue fan, a Maru fan, a Hero Marine fan. It doesn't matter. You have to look at these games and be so happy with what we have gone. This has been such a great display of skill throughout this whole tournament and in this series from both these players. They are the 2 best in the world right now. They have proven that game after game, that their form coming into Katowice was the best. And it all comes down to this. 1 game on Curious Minds. We're not going to see any cheese. We're not going to see any shenanigans. Neither of them are players who would bet their entire chances on winning with that. Neither of them are. This is going to be potentially a very, very long macro game, as we are seeing there a nice little diagram of Kerrigan. So that's right, both these players are they are the swarm. And we will see how well they are going to do. Speed has started up, Lings are on the way, and it's a completely standard opening so far. We should see those third bases going down fairly shortly. And both Serral and Reynor, as I said, completely comfortable in their macro. That there's not a game that they worry about that goes late where they feel like I cannot win this, where they don't feel like they can win it. And so I'm excited. This should be, I mean, potentially the best game in this series. You know, there have been so many, you know, finals, grand finals where the last game is just a little bit disappointing. But I have a feeling this is not going to be it. Already one of the greatest grand finals that I've ever gotten to experience. I have no doubt that it's going to continue to deliver. As we do have Baneling Nest finishing up, and so far, nothing out of the ordinary. We are going to be seeing that Reynor is going up to a slightly higher link count, but Serral will match it very, very shortly, actually going up to 10 of his own. So Serral will be the first one to try and apply a little bit of pressure with Lings, and that kind of has been the story of this series. I think that Serral has usually been the one trying to apply pressure, trying to find counterattack damage, being the one who's getting aggressive. You know, usually Reynor's actually sitting back and defending and being reactionary and responding to that of his opponent. But it's been back and forth. It's been back and forth. We saw the Mutas game from Reynor, the Lurker Rush. You know, both those games were Reynor getting out on the map, being aggressive. The early link pressure, Serral's not really going to push it just yet. We'll finally split up his Zerglings and start to try and at least get an idea of where Reynor is. Neither player really just yet committing to anything. As the Roach Warrens go down, again, Serral's just going down a little bit sooner. That should mean that Reynor will actually get an advantage on the work count because he built that Roach Warren later. The kind of how much you mine is exponential because with the Zerg economy, because you lose a drone every time you build a building, the later that you can afford to get it, the better it's actually going to be for your economy and the more things you'll be able to get. So despite the fact that Serral has his faster, unless it's being used for a timing attack, it really isn't going to affect Reynor altogether that much. And he's actually going to have a bit of a tempo advantage when it comes to this drone production. You're already seeing right now sitting 7 ahead, and you're both on your rounds of, 10, on your rounds of 11 and 12. So Reynor should be able to keep that up. Serral, of course, already into the Roaches, is going to be having just a few defensive out. 3 or so is enough, I believe, to one-shot a Ling, if I am not wrong. I might be wrong, but +1 range weapons is going to be finishing up first for Reynor, who gets his own Roaches as well. Serral continue to be annoying with these singular Lings trying to scout out. Everything does get into the natural. So sees absolutely everything there is to know about Reynor's base, as a very nice catch there. Serral going to be able to get rid of those Banelings. And Serral managing to also catch up in the work count as more Banelings being caught on out. And this game just dead even right off the bat, and that's good for us. You know, we really didn't want to see anyone make a major mistake and lose, 7 drones to a Baneling hit early on. As, Reynor again managing to be able to stop just these scouting Lings that are coming out from Serral. Right now, it's a vision game for both these players. How much do you know? How much information can you get? And what are you going to do with it? As Serral right now is working on a second evolution chamber, so should be starting up his +2 ranged weapons and Carapace upgrades at the same time. So should actually be a pretty big advantage for Serral in the long run when you're looking at it. Having the +2 and the +1 just means that you're taking a little bit less damage. And when you're dealing out the same amount of damage, that gets exponentially larger the more Roaches that you have in your army. As Glittery Constitution finishing up for both of these players. 4th bases are on the way. And Reynor's going to be the first one to move across the map. Roach Ravager is the name of the game. We are seeing right now just the Overseers being used for scouting, and one of the obviously the best things that you could do in mid-game ZVZ is that you can actually use your overseers and tag them onto your opponent's army. So you see there, of course, Serral almost gets baited by it, but just had his overseer right-clicked on the roaches and the ravagers, knew exactly where Reynor's army was, and can continue to do that throughout this game to constantly get vision, as we are going to see an overlord sniped from Serral. But now we're starting to get into a few different upgrades. Serral has decided to go for the Spire, but mass size Carapace for both these players coming on out. And it's going to be burrowed roaches for Serral while he's working on Hydras. And while we are seeing that Spire from Reynor, you know, while you kind of say, oh, hey, maybe Mutalisk will be good in this map, or on this map, in this match, in this game, you know, when you're looking at burrowed roaches, they can get infinitely more damage done if you have the Hydralisk to respond and to try and find counter damage, or to respond and try and stop the damage of the Mutalisk. Now, Serral, of course, does not know that it's going to be Mutalisk play, as Reynor is building up quite the big bank, but look at this. Oh, I love this from Serral, is loading up Dropper Lords with roaches inside. And I think he's going to be using them for harassment as he moves out with his main army. This is a very cool move, as, yeah, Serral, being so cheeky right now, is now going to try and take a fight at the front. And guess what? There's 11 Mutalisks on the way, so that means that Reynor doesn't have a lot of roaches with his army right now, and so Serral's going to try and crush on through. Of course, does not have as many roaches as he could. The defender's advantage trying to come on through. The Mutalisks trying to do their best they can. A flank coming through from Reynor. And Serral hasn't committed to the roach drop, so he hasn't found any damage. The Mutalisks continuing to find damage on the retreat. They should be able to get rid of a lot of these roaches, as there's no burrow from Serral. Finally will do so, and Hydras are out. As the roach drops coming through now, roaches into the main, roaches into the fourth. Already managing to find 4 drone kills. A Queen getting low. Queen goes down, as Serral finding some really decent damage with this so far. There we go. Burrows gets on out. And Hydra Roach is the name of the game right now for Serral, as these roaches are just going to be relegated to potentially dying. As once again, Serral going to find his way on in. More roaches now. The Hydras with this army is going to continue to try and find damage. And if Reynor can't defend this, this could just be game. I mean, the Mutalisks are not really going to be that valuable, but the roach count is so much higher for Reynor. But it's +2/+1 versus just +2. Serral trying to make it work now, trying to go on in. The backstab, 3 more drones go down. He can just focus the base, and the base will fall. As Serral finding incredible damage so far. And already in this game, trying to get himself in the lead. Infestation Pit. +2 weapon attacks, and of course that +3 not gonna be started until the hive is done. And Reynor, these Mutalisks have not done anything. He has been completely kept into his own half of the map. He's gonna try and move out with them and try and, I think, get something done, but they have to be used for defense. They have to stop these roach counterattacks, as Reynor is just trying to reestablish his 4th base. Reynor is now committing on in, finds an opening where you have morphing units. Corrosive Biles split the Hydras. More Corrosive Biles actually get a lot of value for Reynor. Even more connecting with Serral's army. Serral gonna try and chase this down, but takes quite a few losses. That's 20 more roaches on the way. Oh, Serral. That Tone Burrow there was just regenerating his roach health. As trying to find damage here, but again, you just get 3 drones. It's not really altogether that much. As we're 11 minutes into this game, and the Lurker Den is on the way for Serral. Reynor is still on roaches. As Burrowed Roaches making their way on in, are going to get scouted out, but Queen's responding to the Hydras, and the Queen goes down for Reynor. He's trying to find a counterattack of his own. Does manage to find 8 workers in total from all of this, but also is losing Queens himself. Resources lost, not spiraling completely out of control just yet for the Italian Stallion. 55 workers to 58, 140 army supply available for both of these players as 9 lurkers are on the way. And these lurkers, of course, can make all the difference, but Serral just needs to hold on. That's a great surround by Serral. Gets the concave and just crushes through Reynor's army. And now Serral has his +2 ground carapace. He's going to have the ability to start working on his +3 ranged weapons very shortly. Just need to get his gas started again. These mutas have just been denying so much of his gas mining. Of course, wants to start on that +3. It is such an important upgrade to have. As the regenerating roaches once again popped out of the ground, and Serral potentially wanting to try and find an engagement, and actually Reynor's committing on into the base, but the lurkers have been brought on over. The roaches are trapped, and that's going to be a lot of damage onto those roaches. 7 drones do go down though, and Serral is just losing more and more. He's bringing over all of his units. He's getting on top of the Ravagers, as Reynor just pushed in too far and loses so much with that. And it's 13 Hydras and 16 roaches for the remax of Serral and Reynor respectively. As this lurker harass just being so annoying. 4 drones have already gone down. The last of the mutas are gonna fall. And Serral continuing to just try and find damage. Reynor needs to hold on against this lurker push. Gets that lurker very, very low. Is bringing over the rest of his units, but Serral just has so much to work with. Serral has such a large army. Once again, he's threatening this 3rd base that has been re-established already. Biles don't manage to kill the lurker. One more, it's not even gonna finish it off, and this base is just gonna go down again. And it's 4 base versus 4 base, and Serral continues to find damage, but great corrosive Biles managed to snipe off a few of the lurkers for Reynor. Continuing to try and micro this fight. Lurkers have to be unburrowed. Reynor trying to chase it down. They'll just find a singular roach. Actually, oh, Serral, that's a very risky burrow. Does lose a lurker for it. But Vipers are on the way now for both players as this counterattack by Reynor actually getting a lot of damage. The drones have to be burrowed. 3 of them do end up falling. It's 10 more lurkers on the way. And Reynor, he's still working with Roach Ravager. There's no transition available for Reynor. He doesn't have the economy to get into Hydras, to get into his own lurkers just yet. And he needs time in order to. And Serral still has not started on his +3. As a speed on burrow. Adaptive Talon's able to get those lurkers out of dodge as the one shot does go down onto 1 lurker, 2 lurkers, 3 lurkers actually end up falling. Serral being a little bit careless here with his units, and he doesn't really have the economic position to truly be fully that just brazen with them. As now, I mean, sitting here, Reynor can get a surround set up, and Reynor, he might just start looking for it. He's gonna try and interrupt some of the reinforcements coming through. Doesn't manage to get the kill onto the lurkers, and now his units are gonna get caught. He didn't spring the trap soon enough, and it gets sprung on him. As these roaches are all gonna go down, and those are just losses that Reynor really could not afford. As a pause did seem to come through, but Reynor just gonna continue to run these roaches by. Tanks the Baneling hit. Manages to get them out. More lurker harass. 3 more drones go down. Burrow on the way for Reynor, who has started his +3 before Serral. Interestingly enough, despite having the later hive. Of course, when you have lurkers, well, it doesn't make too much of a difference. But here we go. Guess what? The ducks go down onto the lurkers. Already 3 fall. A 4th is gonna go down. And Reynor, the Vipers, that is where he can come back into this game. That is where he can start to find value. It's only 3 lurkers left for Serral. And mind you, these units are so much more supply and resource intensive than the roaches of Reynor. So if you can continue to trade that efficiently, suddenly Reynor can find his way back into this game. Serral retreating away. He's going to be able to get all of those roaches out. +3 does start up for Serral as well. And Reynor finally getting a Hydra Den of his own is going to have the option to get into those lurkers as the Hydras try and snipe The Viper are not able to. And Reynor is going to work on Hydralisk. Has to get his upgrades for them, though. But the bank for Reynor is building. Reynor's finally on 4 bases. He's on 58 workers. Reynor has found his way back into this game, as he is going to be able to snipe off one of those lurkers, but the Blinding Cloud stops him from moving out, or from moving in. Lurker. Gonna be trying to just find a little bit more damage as Reynor positioned, but his roaches are all so low. He doesn't have the advantage of the tunneling claws to give himself that extra regeneration. This lurker will end up falling. But look, oh, look at Serral's army. He's managed to try and find an opening, but at the same time, Reynor diving on top of a lot of these lurkers. Reynor has an opening, dives on top of it. The Vipers trying to rush back to help save as many units as possible. But Reynor, the hit and run, finds damage, is gonna get on out. And Reynor now 30 supply ahead. Sure, he doesn't have lurkers, but it doesn't matter. Reynor just has more stuff. Reynor has +3. He's might try and look to find the angle, but there's just so much to work with from Serral still. 124 army supply to 143. But lurkers will be on the way for Reynor soon as well. Working on that lurker den. More Hydras on the way. A 5th base being established now for Reynor. Serral, of course, has that hatchery, but has not been able to use it. As abducts onto the Vipers. The Vipers go down for Reynor, and Serral saves all of his. Oh my, Serral. A beautiful play. Keeps his Vipers alive. Can continue to build the energy there. Reynor has to rebuild his. That was gorgeous. The Blinding Cloud to stop the Hydras from firing. They were all clumped up. And the abducts onto Reynor's Hydras. That was, oh. Serral. He might be down, but he is never out. Lurkers burrowing up. One is going to fall. The Corrosive Bile, I mean, a useful tool. A Roach counterattack coming in here from Reynor, but has to get on out. The Lurkers surrounding him. The spines. Absolutely shredding through the Roaches. As Serral now looking to posture on this map. Is approaching and being maxed out. Reynor is the one who has dropped in supply. The back and forth continuing. But Serral, does he have enough? There are no lurkers out for Reynor yet. He doesn't have a large amount of Ravagers to help zone out the lurkers. And the Viper count, it's 8-6. As +3 Carapace is on the way for Reynor, but Serral, he's looking for the opening. He knows that the base is exposed. Blinding Clouds go down. But so far, not that efficient for either player. As Reynor once again trying to just find a way in, but Serral is looking to crush through. The abducts onto Reynor's own lurkers, and they all go down. And Serral, once again, looking to push down this 3rd base. It is going to fall. And this, 3 times he has struck here. And only now may it be the final blow as the lurkers are dropping on in. They're coming. They're burrowing forward. The Blinding Clouds. Reynor's supply drops, and Serral has done it. He's going to get his first IEM Katowice win. GG.